There's a dark reason some stars never age while others vanish without a trace. What if the jerky in Jeffrey Epstein's fridge wasn't beef, but something that once had a name? Tonight, we uncover what the elite tried to bury, an appetite that doesn't represent power. It survives on it. You're being sold a fantasy so you never notice the truth. Hollywood's fountain of youth is a slaughterhouse. The jerky in Jeffrey Epstein's private freezer needed medical-grade cold storage and permission to kill authorization codes. It wasn't food, and it didn't come from a farm. It came from something that once had a heartbeat and a name. We're not exposing a scandal. We're exposing a hunger so literal it will make you want to turn the screen off forever. Jeffrey Epstein and his Hollywood circle have finally been unmasked, and it's not just rumors anymore. We're talking hard evidence from files that would make a mortician gag. Babies in fridges. Jerky used as a sick code. We found a grotesque subculture of trafficking and consumption on an industrial scale. And at the center of the nightmare, investigators point to Ellen DeGeneres, the daytime queen who danced into your living room while allegedly carving nightmares in the shadows. They called it a conspiracy. They called it fake news. But nightmares like this don't vanish. They just rot under the floorboards. Buckle up. We're going into the basement, and we aren't coming back until we find the truth. In 2016, I dug into the Podesta emails. They were littered with pizza and pasta, FBI code for things much darker than dinner. Is it a coincidence that Epstein's emails used the exact same language? Pizza, pasta, jerky. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna saw the unredacted files. She saw the permission to kill emails. She saw the mention of 11-year-olds and Snow White. And then there's the jerky. I looked at the emails. The permission to kill email. The jerky. I don't know what it is. Context is weird. Nobody talks about snack food with that much fear. It's a code, and it's sickening. For a decade, we warned you the elite were obsessed with consuming human flesh. We were called tinfoil hat crazies. But we weren't wrong. We were just early. The jerky was analyzed. Why didn't we get jerky this week? These are real quotes from the Epstein files. They talk about freezing jerky. You don't freeze dried meat, folks, unless it's raw evidence. They mention LSJ, Little Street James, the island of no return. They talk about a restaurant called Cannibal and Cooks. Snopes rush to debunk it, claiming it doesn't exist. How awkward, then, that it's listed right in Epstein's logs. Guests? The Clintons, Meryl Streep, Katy Perry. In 2009, a model named Gabriela Rico Jimenez screamed in the street that she saw VIPs eating people. They called her crazy. Was she? Or did she just see what was for dinner? Chrissy Teigen, Ellen's close friend, hasn't been shy. On camera, she pleaded the case for cannibalism. If it has been approved, I would eat a human. I'm bored with normal food. This isn't a joke. Insiders claim Hollywood basements are stocked with veal, except it's not cows. When I knew Ellen, she had a private kitchen, no cameras, no staff allowed. She wore a chef's hat like a crown and talked about vitality transfer. She believed that by eating the young, she could steal their light. She'd serve dumplings at private parties. Studio heads and rising stars would eat them, smiling, while she watched with a sociopathic calm. It wasn't about hunger. It was about making everyone at the table a monster so nobody could ever tell the truth. But biology has a way of screaming. Have you heard of Kuru? It's a brain disease caused by eating human tissue. It causes tremors, cognitive collapse, and strange, uncontrolled laughter. In one video from the files, Epstein's face is twitching. His mouth moves like it's controlled by strings. PR teams call it health issues. Science calls it prions, brain-wasting proteins that turn your mind into a sponge. The fallout won't stay hidden. Symptoms don't sign NDAs. When these power players retreat from public life, ask yourself, are they resting or are they rotting from the inside out? The Epstein files are the building 7 of our era. The smoking gun being buried by a government desperate to gaslight you. The truth is a bitter pill, but silence is a death sentence. Stay vigilant. See you in the next one, if they let me. If you think the jerky was the end of it, you haven't seen the inventory logs. Imagine a suburban kitchen, clean and white, where a mother might prep a Sunday roast. Now, replace that roast with something small, pale, and unmistakably human. Insiders describe stainless steel units in Hollywood basements not filled with expensive wine, but with intact units kept at sub-zero temperatures. These weren't just scraps. They were stored whole, marinating in specialized sauces designed to preserve the life force the elite believe they can absorb. It's a literal warehouse of innocence, organized by age and vitality, like a sick grocery aisle for the gods of the silver screen. Ellen didn't just cook. She performed a ritual of transformation. Those legendary dumplings she brought to her show tapings. The audience cheered, reaching out like hungry birds for a homemade treat from their favorite host. But witnesses from her private estate remember a different preparation. She would fold the dough with a rhythmic, trance-like devotion, whispering that consumption is rebirth. She wasn't just feeding her guests. She was binding them. Once you swallow the forbidden, you belong to the circle. You can't go to the police when you've already digested the evidence. The laughter you heard on TV wasn't joy. It was the sound of a predator watching her prey become accomplices in real time. Look back at the emails. I also added more to the jerky and ginger lemongrass. Super cool. Why the heavy spices? Why the aromatic herbs? Any forensic pathologist will tell you that certain meats have a distinct, sickly sweet odor that lingers in the nostrils. The ginger and lemongrass weren't for flavor, they were for camouflage. It's a culinary mask for the scent of the grave. They talk about Steve needing his 6 to 8 ounce portion as if it's a medical prescription. In their world, it is. They believe they are literally consuming the youth they've lost. A biological vampire flick playing out in the penthouses of Manhattan and the villas of Malibu. The elite think they are invincible. But nature has a gruesome way of balancing the scales. The Kuru symptoms we see in the Epstein tapes, the rhythmic lip smacking, the trembling hands, the vacant, glassy stare. These are the hallmarks of a brain turning into a sponge. Prions are indestructible. You can't cook them away. When you consume your own kind, you invite a molecular demon into your nervous system. It's a slow, agonizing slide into madness, where you lose the ability to speak, then move, then breathe. Hollywood's sudden, early retirements and mystery illnesses aren't just burnout. It's the shaking hand of a debt that can only be paid in neurological collapse. The most terrifying part isn't what happened on the island, it's what's happening in your neighborhood. These people own the media, the tech, and the very airwaves you're using to watch this. They've rebranded, moved to new estates, and hired new chefs. But the hunger doesn't go away. It only grows. When the Epstein files finally leak in full, the names will shatter your reality. You'll realize that the person you've looked up to for decades hasn't just been lying to you, they've been hunting you. They aren't humans playing at being gods. They are monsters playing at being human, and they're getting hungry again. Beyond the physical kitchens and the cold storage lies a deeper, more metaphysical horror, the archive of silence. Insiders speak of a room buried beneath a nondescript estate in the canyons, where the true contracts are kept. These aren't signed in ink, but in a shared, unspeakable memory. It's a psychological prison. When you join the circle, your identity is systematically stripped away and replaced with a collective guilt so heavy it acts as a physical weight. They don't need security guards. The horror of what you've done becomes your shadow. You start seeing things in the corners of your vision, small, flickering shapes that shouldn't be there because your mind is trying to process a transgression that biology wasn't designed to handle. We often think of these elites as geniuses or masterminds, but the truth is far more pathetic. Dark psychology reveals a pattern of narcissistic starvation. When you have everything, fame, money, power, the dopamine receptors in the brain begin to wither. You need higher and higher stakes just to feel a spark of life. This is where the paranormal tilt begins. They aren't just looking for food, they are looking for a soul. They believe that by crossing the ultimate taboo, they break the laws of nature and become gods. But look at their eyes in the high-definition interviews. There's nothing left behind the pupils. They've traded their humanity for a hunger that can never be satisfied. A hunger that eventually starts to eat the host from the inside out. Have you ever noticed the glitches in old Hollywood footage? The moments where a star's face seems to slip for a fraction of a second, revealing a mask of pure, unadulterated exhaustion. This is the prion stare. As the brain begins to fold in on itself, the biological cost of their traditions, the subconscious begins to leak out. They start hearing voices in the static of their monitors. They see movement in the dark velvet curtains of their private screening rooms. It's a haunting not by external spirits, but by the echoes of their own choices. The mansions aren't haunted because people died there. They are haunted because the people living there are already dead, walking around in expensive suits while their brains turn to lace. In the desert outside of Vegas, there are rumors of a garden of stone, a private retreat where those too far gone are taken to live out their final, shaking days. When the kuru takes hold and the tremors become too obvious for the red carpet, they simply retire. They are moved to these high-security facilities where the walls are padded and the light is always dim. They spend their hours whispering to people who aren't there, folding napkins into the shape of those infamous dumplings, waiting for a vitality that will never come back. The public is told they are finding themselves or seeking spiritual clarity, but the local staff know the truth. They are watching the slow, screaming dissolution of a human mind that tried to eat its way to immortality. The most chilling part of the Epstein files isn't what happened on the island, but the realization that the island was just a laboratory, a test site for a global system of biological harvesting. They wanted to see how far they could push the human vessel before it broke. And now, the data has been collected. The elites are moving into a new phase one that involves more than just private dinners. They are looking to integrate these codes into the very fabric of our society, through the food we eat and the medicine we are forced to take. The boundary between the hunter and the hunted is being erased. We are the jerky, we are the steak. And unless we wake up to the psychological trap they've set, we are the ones who will be providing the vitality for their next 1,000-year reign. Don't let them bury the truth. Hit that subscribe button and leave a comment before this video vanishes from the algorithm forever. Your engagement is the only thing keeping the lights on in this basement. So like the video to help us drag these secrets into the sun.